Thank you very much. Very well said, Shankar. So I think we have had our say. We are all open to any questions or comments from anyone on the floor. Yes.
First of all, I like to thank the panel for giving this much. My main question is, the major stakeholders are the students and the technology. Have you taken care of this while working out this? Because I see my granddaughter, just 5 years old, I am still teaching A for apple, B for bat, whereas she transmits the photograph much faster than what I can do. She can download the games much faster than what the youngsters can do, and still we are teaching her A for apple. Now the apple has changed a little bit. Earlier what I have seen the apple, it is the same. Where are we? Where the technology is going, are we taking care of that?
Is your question addressed to any specific member of the panel?
All who have been, they say the stakeholders, I find these two are missing. If you ask this report to be prepared by a student of class 10th or 12th where they want to be in next 20 years, you will find a different report. So why not have the stakeholders in reality? Because they are going to take a
I don't think anybody would disagree with that, and think Shankar also made the same point. The stakeholders have to be very much part of the systems and processes that are engaged in quality, assuring quality, whether it is ranking, whether it is accreditation, they have to be deeply involved. I think we totally agree with that. I don't think there is anybody on the panel who will disagree.
I want to say something here. Your assumption or presumption that the stakeholder is not involved is not right. For example, during an accreditation visit, the visiting team talks to all the stakeholders, in particular the students. If you look at the outcomes of what we expect, the program outcomes, and there is something else, the program education, PEOs, they take into consideration, we are looking at what the student is expected to do at the time of graduation and beyond. Therefore, the stakeholder interests are very much there. And the details depend upon what the prior learning is, what the preparation of the student is. It is not true to say that we do not take into consideration, because if you look at the curricula, for instance, and what is taught to the students, it builds on what they already know. Therefore, it's not true to say that this is not taken.
Let me just add on to that. The accreditation visit is typically of 3 days duration, and during the time, the evaluators look at all kinds of things, including going to a class and sitting in a class. So rest assured, stakeholders' interest is the primary concern there.
Good morning, sir. I'm Manik Sethi from Thomson Reuters. I have a questions for the academicians, distinguished academicians sitting on the dais. I understand.
All of us or one of us?
4 of you from IT and IIM.
I think point out to one, it will be easier for us to.
Anyone, I mean anyone, whosoever has some insights on that. So it's very important from the administration aspect of the institution about rankings. We know how seriously we are taking as an institution, as a government, as a body. We would still like to understand how serious or how enthusiastic or motivated faculty members of institutions are to get you into the rankings as an institution. So wherever they can contribute, whether it's research, whether it's perception, whether it's students' perception. So just want to have an understanding from you how motivated our faculty members, now you're from IITs and IIM, so IITs and IIM faculty members are to make sure that IITs go in the top rankings.
So the question is addressed to 4 of us, and I can assure you 4 of us will give you 4 different answers. So maybe I'll ask Manoj to give his perception.
I think transformation is taking place slowly but definitely. That is reflected by the fact that some of the IITs now have a ranking cell. So first this issue about rankings being not important, then the realization that the stakeholders and the public take it very seriously, and then further the government takes it very seriously. So we now have cells, which means there are departmental representatives who sit together in a committee to address the issue about ranking. Not all IITs have it, some have. I don't know about the IIMs. So it's yet to percolate to the individual level. Some can be disdainful, some can think it's very important. But as long as the ranking parameters merge with the individual faculty aspiration parameters and the institution, I mean, how does it dovetail right from the top to the bottom? That is how much enthusiasm it will generate. If they are out of sync, I mean, if the faculty is totally going in one direction and the parameter is not very important in the ranking system, that's where the marriage will have to occur. But it's percolating and it's definitely moving in that direction.
Let me just add on one small bit to that. I think the perspective is very much what he has said, that there is scattered interest amongst the faculty. But so far there has not been really a great ranking system in the country. I mean, you just have these individual magazines producing some kind of magic ranks from some magic box, and nobody knows what really goes into that box. So now that we are making an effort which is actually a data-driven effort, and provided the data is reliable, that is still a big if. Hopefully there will be more interest. That's only a guess. I really don't know.
May I add just a couple of things. If you look at the country as a whole, at the moment our president is extremely interested in getting our institutions into the ranking, and therefore it is driving a lot of changes. It is translated into the heads of institutions being asked to make sure that what matters gets done. To get all the faculty members involved, it is an impossibility. There will be a majority of people who would like to work in an institution with personal pride, that I belong to an institution which is higher up in the ranking. Many of them may not. Their individual motivation, as he says, it should be aligned with the institutional motivation and aspirations.
I think there is a great degree of awareness in IIMs or IITs. Every faculty member need not to get involved in this accreditation and ranking business, let me tell you frankly. There are people who are very fascinated about this, passionate about this, and they go for ranking. What is important is that what is our business? We are in the business of creating knowledge, generating knowledge. We are in the business of disseminating knowledge. We are in the business of transferring knowledge. And that is the core thing for any institution. Now, there should be a conducive environment, academic environment and research environment. As rightly said by Professor Natarajan, that Honorable President was in our campus for convocation, and he was conveying this message, giving a direct message that all institutions should go for ranking and accreditation. It's really important. Unless you participate, how you will come to know where you stand. And there is a great degree of awareness about that. So far as research is concerned, we are trying very sincere effort, giving huge incentive to promote research. And their faculty members are taking a lot of interest. And that's why you'll find that in the last couple of years, large number of research papers have come. So that's a very good sign. Thank you.
Is there any more question? Oh, there is one there.
I think the opportunity, and again, there's a little bit of a comment and seek your thoughts on that, but I see opportunity for India to leapfrog. And when I say leapfrog, I think the way, while you said that, some of the comment was that the student knows on mobile very easily at very early age and then what is taught. But I think more importantly, if our goal is to produce students as output, maybe for job purpose or research purpose, etc., even that dynamics of what is required today and tomorrow, it's changing so fast. So if you look at this assessment approach, one approach could be what capabilities are we creating, and not only for India, because India also is being viewed as a young workforce which will serve the whole world. So if you look at assessment which can produce capabilities, and that capability creation would, somebody you can do X, Y, Z, the way engineers today are supposed to do what MBAs were supposed to do, what value that would create. I think it's an opportunity to not just copy some of the worldwide institutions' assessment system, but something India can do very unique to address that pragmatic approach of if we create outstanding students, and that assessment could be very different than even the best of the best worldwide, because I've traveled all over and I don't think they got it right yet. I mean, the gap between industry and academia is not only in India, it's there. I would name top 10 universities in the world. Same problem exists. So, my question, don't you think India right now we have an opportunity to leapfrog and design an assessment which is creating capabilities so that the students can be even better than existing professionals, which corporates are trying to retrain. I mean, I was an internal vice chancellor, call it, in IBM's academy of Asia Pacific with 40,000 IT specialists, and my role was to lift their game with some of the technologies like mobile and social and analytics and clouds and big data, etc., which I don't think is that hard for our students entering into 4-year engineering or 2-year MBA. They can come out in that time and completely disrupt that capability, and I'm sure world over the employers would say, hang on, I'd rather take it at 1/3 the cost or 1/2 the cost. So I like to dream at least that that capability exists at a root level or at the base level. But if thought leaders like you can create that assessment, so that, because without that faculty and without that college assessment and capability creation, I don't think this raw talent can be, created, which can take advantage of this massive change which is taking place, which is very rapid. So,
no, we understand
your thoughts on that.
We understand the sentiment that you have mentioned, but I'm not quite clear we understand the question behind it.
The question behind that is that while everybody says our Indian system is not producing high quality output, or they are low level, or, I mean, I'm sure I agree with that, the ranking at a worldwide level is, so all that given, those are realities. But at the same time, I see an opportunity to address that, change that, and put India well ahead of worldwide institutions. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we agree with you. We absolutely agree with you.
I think one is we can agree with you, but then that's a very general kind of statement. The question is, can we do something towards that? I mean, I would like to reposition the question, can accreditation and ranking be used as good tools to achieving that? That's the only way the question will be relevant to this panel, right? So
I would like to think, yes, very important, because if ranking can be addressed to...
many of us who are sitting here strongly believe that there is a possibility, and we all have to, but the effort has to be a massive effort, not only of the people sitting on the panel or people involved in NBA or people involved in the ranking work, but the whole of educational fraternity has to work together for that. And that requires some leadership. I think that's where the challenge is. We need to create leaders who will provide that kind of inspiration to each and every one of the stakeholders in the system to really do all that is required. Because it's a multi-dimensional effort. It's a huge effort.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And fortunately,
so we can only do. I would only say that we can only do so much through systems like accreditation and ranking. The rest of the system has to join in as well, with honest intention and with removing the regulations that are sometimes stifling. On the other hand, making sure that those regulations are not misused in any, freedom is not misused in any way. It's a big task, and it requires solid leadership. That's all I would like to say. Yeah, I think Shankar wants to add something.
No, I just want to say how India is leading the climate change discussion in the world. India is clearly putting its foot down and saying this is how it will be in the future. We have to have our say. I think maybe the time has come for us to start thinking of it, saying if we have the world's largest workforce in the future, we also have to sort of tell the world that the standards have to be different. We can't necessarily look at a developed country standard, and I think Chairman said it beautifully, and that sort of leadership, and I think its leadership is not one person, the entire system has to start working. But I think the India future has to be defined by India, not necessarily. It can be influenced and can be networked with the world, but it cannot be the same. And in some ways, I think you echoed that sentiment, but he's right, and we got to push for it. And maybe the government also, from a regulator, has to go into a motivator or an enhancer, not necessarily play as a wall, but actually help leapfrog.
Thank you. That is well said. I think we'll have time for one, maybe two more questions, but brief ones. All right, lady first.
One more question, Okay, sure.
Oh, you're closing this, right?
We'll need to, you can take one more question, but after that.
Okay, I'm sorry, only one more question.
Hi, my name is Bhumika, and while Manoj was talking, and I happened to read Skill India, and I wanted to ask you that, India is focusing on Skill India, and what is it, are we doing anything about creating ranking or operationalizing the vocational training centers so that the people who apply for it have a certain amount of ranking? Are we doing anything about it? can we do anything about it, and how can we do something about it?
Sorry, I didn't get, would you like?
Yeah, there is a national qualification network.
Right,
What is it?
NVQ. NVQF.
It is a alternative system of skill-based education and training, and there's going to be an equivalence or possibility of lateral movement from the academic stream to the vocational stream. Here, it is called National Qualification Framework. So it does exist.
So one last.
All right. I think he insists on one question, so we'll have one.
Good afternoon, one and all, and the panel. First of all, I would like to thank CII and AICT for arranging this excellent program. This has been an excellent learning for every one of us. And coming to this discussion and on all, let me introduce myself. I am SB Kulkarni. I am coming from a remote place like Aurangabad, which is in Maharashtra, from a college institute like Chhatrapati Shahu College of Engineering. During this discussion, I have come across various aspects of accreditation and ranking. We are discussing many things about the institute like IITs, IIMs, and the Cream Institute of India. But we have to give a second thought to the institute. Those are also performing excellently besides all this Cream Institute. We need to have an infrastructure to help them to perform and to have an excellence achievement. My humble request to the panel, and the question is also the same. Is there any such program for such institutes, those who are performing excellently, and besides this all Cream Institute, is there any such mentoring program available over there so that they can also achieve excellence? And we also are in need of this mentoring programs which is over there. Is there any such programs available over there? And can we have such adoption of any of IITs or maybe such Cream Institute over there possible over there? Thank you very much.
There are several networks in this country. For example, between the IITs and surrounding institutions, and it's a mandate given by the government that they have to mentor a number of institutions. Similarly, NITs and the neighboring institutions. And yesterday, if you had noticed, the CII gives awards to institutions on the basis of their industrial relationships. Those who have won the awards for 2 or 3 years in a row, they no longer can compete for the succeeding awards, but then they become mentors, and there are also awards for the best mentoring institution. Therefore, there is a network of things that is happening, and you really have to take the effort if you want to be the receiver of benefit.
I think we are short of time. Maybe you can have individual discussions.
We are really running short of time. I'm really sorry. Is it a very long question though? I mean, if I can have a minute, but not more.
I think.
Yeah.
If you agree, we'll wind up the discussion now, because you probably have other agendas.
Yeah, we have another keynote before lunch.
Right.
What about this?
Those are the 7 publications that we have released. It's a gift from our side to you, to all the panelists.
Okay.
Yeah.